latest top tips, reviews and advice, please subscribe below.
Hello and welcome to Attwoolls Outdoors with me, Mike. Telling you guys a bit of a kind of a review video on a new kind of product from Outwell. So with me today, I've got the Outwell Universal Awning. So the Universal Awning is a really quite clever concept that Outwell have designed. It's basically they've previously done like a universal extension, which is kind of like an open canopy that can be added onto the front of any tent. Now, this is the same kind of concept, but it's actually a completely enclosed version of it. So it almost replaces the extension, but gives you more sort of functionality and obviously, more importantly, the ability to create a completely enclosed area onto an open fronted tent. There's various different sizes, all ranging up from size 1 to 7, and they run around about 30 centimeters difference in terms of the width, so they kind of expand themselves a bit more. Now, Outwell sort of stipulate kind of which size is defined which tent in their inline range models. And you kind of use that as a bit of a size guide if you have an older model and you still want to attach it on. It's quite a simplistic concept into a certain degree, that essentially all you've got is material kind of overlaps one another, and then you actually have got a webbing strap that clips on to, normally all Outwells have this a point located here. Now, there's no reason you can't use that onto any other point on a different brand, for example. So you can clip it onto kind of the pole, loop it around the pole, or onto like the little kind of point of the air beam where the guy rope is. So you could necessarily use it for a different brand, necessarily you haven't got an Outwell model. In terms of your sizing, what I'd recommend you want to make sure is that the tent is around about 10 centimeters smaller in the width and height of the awning. So if you work out your tent height and tent width, add a maximum of sort of about 10 centimeters onto the width and the height of it, and that'll dictate what size you can go for. Below is a link showing all of the available sizes on our website, and you can always have a look at that and sort of compare and contrast. What we've got here is actually a really nice sort of high spec material, and actually there's quite a lot of high spec features built into the awning. So it's not necessarily cheap, but it's a great concept, and it's a way you can extend your tent and make it a bit more modular rather than going for a bigger tent initially. We've got this Outwell kind of a Boss fabric. It's got a really nice strong hydrostatic head rating as well. 2 steel poles come included and give you a really great sort of structure, but also great sort of heights as well. So it's quite a nice sizable model. As we said previously, it kind of pegs and overlaps, and you just almost throw the material over the top and guy and tension it against it. The sides has 2 big windows which have zip curtains on the inside, again to get ultimate latter privacy, but the windows themselves are actually tinted. So what you find is you can necessarily don't get a clear vision in, you see more sort of outlines rather than physical detail, but having that zip up privacy curtains when you want to is obviously very important. Great sort of depth, and it varies a bit in terms of depth as well as the width depending on the size. They run around about sort of about 2.5 meters deep there or thereabouts. The front door, as we can see it here, you can have the flexibility to kind of open it from right to left or left to right, depending on what best suits your model. And failing that, you can actually unzip it down to the bottom and create that kind of open canopy. And that's why it kind of replaces that extension, is that you can undo the zip on the front door. It's still attached, but roll it into the corner, and then you've got this open kind of side. In fact, let's do that a bit now. It's a bit raining. You've also got additional zip pullers on there, so you've got 4 zip pullers in total, so you can create a little bit of a kind of a veranda kind of style. Admittedly, it's easier to do it on the inside than the out. So you can obviously allow airflow in, and there's a full mesh door built into the front section as well. So if you haven't got a mesh door built onto your tent initially, it's a great addition not only to enclose it, but have that first barrier against bugs and so forth. So we can bring that down to the bottom. We'll zip this now back across. At the halfway point here, you have got little kind of toggle points. So if you want to bring that door halfway, like I said, and keep it kind of half open, you can more than happily do that. Failing that, like I'm doing now, is just kind of putting all the zip pullers directly open. A bit closer then, maybe closer. So in this instance, you would actually kind of fold it halfway back, and then you've got your little bit of area sort of corridor into the actual tent. In the front panels as well, there's also window curtains, so you can get it completely enclosed on the front of the tent itself. But open her up, let's take the pegging points out. Now I'd recommend kind of leaving or re-pegging the front canopy just to kind of give the tent itself a little bit more support. So for the time being, imagine that's just tucked around a corner. And now we can see this full frontal mesh door. It's got its own kind of, again, pegging point to get that nice and taut. But that's going to be a bug barrier away from it. Failing that, again, we can open it from right to left or left to right, depending on what's best suits you. Bring it back halfway, or as I'm, no, let's leave it halfway. Let's leave it halfway today. So inside actually is a really nice depth into it. And we've actually got a door positioned on the right hand side here as well. So it means that if you wanted to keep this completely enclosed, and however it does turn, you can always have this little bit of door to go in and out of, and then you've got a sealed kind of area. A ground sheet comes as standard with the actual awning as well, and what you find actually, it kind of creates a bit more of an overlap. So there's these extra sort of mud skirts that kind of go on the inside. The ground sheet then sits on top of it to try and create a bit more of a seal. In fact, let's pick the camera up and bring it in. It's probably the best way of looking at it. So we see now how we've got it. The tent in question I'm using, just to bear in mind, is the Montana 6 PE. So, and then we've got, it was a completely open canopy tent, and then we're in here. So there we go. That's the, you can see the kind of panel of the door located there. So that door zips vertically up and then toggles up in place. And then you've got a sort of tinted windows and kind of that overlap quite nice and neatly in there. As we kind of come around that front section, we see obviously the half mesh and half door scenario, and then we've got the canopy of the tent itself. Now I've kind of left the guide points in the tent itself just to kind of give that additional stability to it. And again, by putting it to the side, it still gives you usable room. You can still access the front of the tent really easily, but you've got a little bit of extra space in between. And then you see also the curtains, which we've got done up where the canopy is. So again, it depends on how good the overlap will be. It's a very universal fit, as we've kind of previously mentioned, but then you've got obviously visibility all the way through, and even that door section there has got its own curtain which goes down to the bottom, and it's got a little toggle point located down there as well. You've also got Outwell's hook track system, so its ability to hang sort of a lantern or anything like that off there. In fact, we've got a little hanging point pre-stitched in, and then as the hook track itself that kind of glides onto it. So if you've not seen that before, it's a means of hanging the lantern point without physically having a sewn in point, so it's a bit more flexible. Brilliant for sort of flexible saber lights and things like that as well. But the key thing is obviously to get a really nice kind of seal. You can almost position the side of it as far back or as far forward as you want. So it depends on how much of an overlap you really want to do. But the key thing is to get kind of enough sort of fabric over the back of that pole so it sits well. You're never going to get 100% sealed, but it's as near as good with the fabric kind of tied up next to it. But I think it's a really nice offering and something a little bit different. And like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be physically Outwell branded as such. It's a great sort of solution for a lot of people's problems, and it's a way of also, you know, you haven't got an extend, buy a bigger tent, you can just buy the kind of universal extension. As previously said, for more information, by all means check the link below this video. It'll take you straight through to our website. We've got more information on pack sizes, pack weights, the overall floor dimensions, and kind of the sizes that is available that you can look to add. Any more questions, by all means, let us know via email, or you're always welcome to comment in the box below. But that's kind of a little bit more of an intro and a bit more of detailed review on the Outwell Universal Awning for 22 going forward.